I think having went through some of the experiences they went through has both made them hungry and then kind of had a mature approach about, you know, this can turn if you get outside of, you think beyond kind of the day-to-day.
This is probably a really stupid question, but Tim Miles sat up there the other night, and they're entering a stretch. Nebraska is that you just played. I think they're playing 4 and 8 days too. And he made a joke about like if this was happening in the NBA, like guys would sit at the end of it. I'm just wondering if you've ever given, especially with like your roster, thought to the idea of just resting guys, even if they're not injured, just giving a guy like Kata or a guy like JT a night off because they're so important to you and they play a lot of basketball.
Well, you know, I haven't, just because of, you know, we don't have great depth, and because those guys, their usage rate is really high, and they're so important to us. Yet at the same time, you know, we were able to make a run in the Minnesota game without Kata, and I do want to be conscious of his and JT and CJ. Those three come to mind because I think those three are leading us in minutes. We do want to be conscious of just the workload that's been on them. But you know, we don't have an 82 game schedule, so every game counts a little more obviously than it does in the NBA. We certainly haven't positioned ourselves yet in good enough position to do anything other than focus on, you know, the game right in front of us. But I do think that, you know, I would like to be able to utilize our bench more at times. Having said that, we're still playing about 10 guys, and if you look around the country, you know, most people are playing 8, 9, in some cases 10 guys. So it's about average, but it is a concern, as it is probably for everybody who's playing guys 33 to 35 minutes a night. It's a concern for the wear and tear on their bodies.
You've talked about before how you guys had realized what the perception was of the program before the season started. Obviously, you guys are having a year you're having. I'm just wondering, have you noticed like a positive energy from a recruiting standpoint, or have you not really had a chance to gauge that just because of the schedule the last week and a half?
Yeah, no, I think we've noticed certainly some positive energy and certainly good feeling. You know, whether that's been a text from high school coaches or communication with high school coaches of young men we're recruiting. You know, that's, you know, I think that's certainly been good. Listen, you know, anytime you are new to a program or you're new to an area, there's always a little bit of a wait and see approach. You know, what's this guy all about? What's his staff all about? You know, how's he going to coach? And, you know, and how's he going to recruit? What kind of a product can he put on the floor? And so I'm sure there was a lot of that with people that may have known us, but didn't have a great, you know, didn't watch us maybe, or didn't have a great feel for how we play. So certainly it's been good to have, you know, a good start, and that can certainly help recruiting. It doesn't get you a recruit, but I think if we were 0-9, it would hurt recruiting a little bit. So, you know, we feel good about that.
Chris, when you've been able to play Caleb as much as you want to, doesn't have any foul trouble, you want to maximize his playing time in the game because it's the best thing to do for the team. How many minutes can you play him? A lot of games he's probably playing in the low 20s.
Yeah.
Can you play him more, or eventually, where do you want to get with him with that?
Eventually, meaning this year or beyond this year?
Beyond.
More, you know, eventually, yeah, eventually, but he's not there yet, I don't think. It's a lot to expect a kid of his size as a freshman, really even to play 20 minutes. It's a little easier, I think, for, you know, we're gonna have guards next year. They're gonna need to come in and play right away, and play significant minutes. But it's a little easier for them than it is a big guy, because it just is, it's harder, it's a bigger adjustment. So I think his minutes are probably where we'd like for him to be. I think sometimes he could play a little more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on how he's playing. He's done a very good job with the minutes, but I wouldn't want to put 30 minutes on him right now as a freshman. I don't know if that's best for our team or for him, as much as he'd like it.
Do you see a point in games where you can, once he gets to a certain number of minutes,
Yeah.
you can look out on the court and see where he's starting to dip in productivity?
Yeah, when he's breathing really hard.
Tugging on his shorts?
Yeah. And when I'm screaming at him to post at Zeal, and he's just looking at me like, really? Yeah, because that requires a lot of work as well. Yeah, I think you can see some of those moments, and there's usually about, it's usually about the 4 or 5 minute stretch that he's been in a game. That's usually when we're going to the bench. But his conditioning has improved, but it's always going to be something that a guy that is his size, he's so gifted with his hands, and I think his feet can get better. They're not bad right now, but they've got to get a lot better in the off season. His explosiveness, his movement. But I think that you can tell, pretty early on when he's. Some guys can play. JT's another guy that can't play for 7-8 minute stretch. Not a lot of people can, but he plays so hard, and fatigue gets the best of him. And sometimes I don't even recognize it. He says, I got to come out, because, he can play so hard at times.
I meant though, like when you're coming down the stretch and there's 4 minutes left in the game, and you might think, I need him in there right now, but he's already at 23, 24 minutes for the game. Are you going to try to put him in there, or are you going to try to go another direction?
Yeah, for me, it's more the consecutive minutes.
Okay.
Versus, I played small college basketball. We didn't have TV timeouts. You get to sit over there for a while, and we can talk about their family, how they're doing with their girlfriend. There are things we run out of talking about, Sometimes I'll get in the huddle too early, and we're just, me and them staring at each other. There's not a whole lot more to say. So that's different than obviously when I played. So the consecutive minutes, like if he's in his, if there's 7 minutes to go in the game, where I want to put him, I'd like for him maybe to play the last 4 or 5 minutes, potentially, depending on how the game goes, or maybe the last 6 minutes. But that's more of what I watch with him and JT, and with CJ. Who can I get in there and finish the game with?
You said the other night that the connection between the players and your staff has happened quicker than you thought it might. I was just wondering if, when you guys came in, did you do anything differently, try any new techniques or whatever to foster that along quicker, maybe than you have in other places?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just asked that earlier today, that exact question. I think Gene's idea really from day one about getting me over here on Friday before the Monday press conference was really important, because I think we both realized that's why we do this, is relationships, and it's really the most important thing is our relationship with the players. So I think that set a good tone, but I think more than anything, we love having them over to our houses, and they came over. It's one of the reasons why I moved close. Like at the top of the list was the fact that they could come over to the house and not feel like it's a huge ordeal, to come over, whether it's a recruiting weekend or whether we had them over to watch the Mayweather, who was that fight? The Mayweather. Yeah, and just to have them, and that was well past my bedtime, so just to have them be able to come over and then leave whenever they wanted to. We tried to do a lot. I don't know if that was it was probably more than we had done maybe in our last year at Butler, but not a ton more. It's just, it's something we feel like is important. We want them to be around their kids, our families. We want them to see how we interact. And we want them to feel, while they're away from their families, a part of something. So, other than that, we didn't go and do a retreat or paintball or, you know, anything like that that people do. We didn't do that.
And I just wanted to ask you quickly about Penn State. Given like Pat's background, and he's got a bunch of guys from Philly on his roster,
Yeah.
like, is there a Big East style, and do you see any of that in Pat's team, given your experience?
Well, I think definitely he's got really tough kids. Philly kids are tough kids. He's got really tough, Pat has really tough kids. And Pat's got a tough team. And I think a team that he put together it's really impressive. And you can see some of the Villanova influence. Obviously, Pat's his own man, but you can see some of that. But yeah, they're a tough group. They're tough-minded. They play with an edge, and that's a credit to Pat and the staff and the kind of kids he recruits. You can definitely see that.
Clay, last one.
Coach, what do you think Dan Dockich's biggest impression on his son, how he's helped him the most? Oh, he's now in the room. But was it handling the spotlight as a big-time player? Is it he's a defensive wizard because he shut down Jordan? Or, I mean, how do you think he's helped along the way?
You stumped me there for a minute. Both guys are really loquacious.
Loquacious.
Do we know what that word is?
Talkative.
Yeah. And that has, that has certainly, that certainly helped him as a player. I was telling somebody earlier today about Andrew. You coach for a long time, and you coach a lot of great kids, and he's an unbelievable kid. And very rarely have I had to tell kids to stop talking. He's the only one. But that's a credit to him because you're constantly trying to pull communication out of players. You're constantly trying to pull it out of them. And again, he connects, and part of connecting is how he communicates. And I think, one of the things that clearly Dan has impressed upon him is playing to win. And it helps being a coach's son, but there's no question that he plays to win, and there's a lot that goes into that, but that's a credit to everybody who's coached him. That's a credit to kind of how he's been raised. He plays to win, and that seems like, well, everybody does. Not necessarily. So I'm sure that has something to do with how Dan's influenced him.